Excited today. What's going on today, Amanda? I'm excited today to have you on here.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah. Ready
Yeah.
to contribute and share.
I got this brought to me to start, the Monday mastermind series. It was, through kind of our inner circle where, I get with the top producers and builders, quarterly, or you try to get a pulse or feedback, from the network, right? And we do a lot of coaching, we do a lot of different things, and there's a lot available in the cloud, and it's just like there's a lot going on, right? And so I was like, we'll see if we can pull this off. And I was like, is it going to be tough to track down the alphas? You know what I mean? Because it's hard to get a hold of me. However,
Right.
but I did something for Tom Davis's group, when I should have been on the road driving Friday. I probably spoke like Tina to the most amount of teams last year outside of my team, but corporate was like kind of asking everybody to step up, and so I appreciate you stepping up. I mean, you have the same sponsor I have, which is Jeff Willems, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I remember Rodney, your husband, you guys ran Boomtown, and I met him probably when I was like 28, 9, 30 years old. I'm 41 now.
Yeah.
And so I kind of I've always respected you guys from a distance and seen your guys' business grow, as we come out of that Unite community. And I'm sure you guys were watching us. And, I enjoyed seeing Rodney every year and, banter and getting to know you and going back and forth. But you guys have a team you guys run. And I would love to learn what is your one thing that makes you guys be able to be this consistent year over year. And it's like, I always tell people execution is worship, right? It is what makes the world go round. And so it's like, what and how can I execute like Amanda and Rodney to be a mega icon team?
I love it. Well, that's actually what we're going to talk about today, right? And it's about how you're setting your goals, and it's more on that principle of, and if everybody remembers Zig Ziglar, I think he was the first one to kind of throw this out there, and it's be, do, have, right? So it's more about who do I need to become? Who do the agents on our team need to become in order to do the actions to meet the goals, to have what they want to have. So yeah, I love it.
Right. It's like, if you haven't been in this business for, more than 5 years, you could just get up and it's like, you're getting yanked to deals right now. It's like, hold on, what do I do with my day? What am I supposed to do? We've never had to do this before. This isn't right. This isn't normal. So I'm going to go grab a seat, and I'm going to grab my pen and a piece of paper, and I'm going to take some notes. I think you're going to share your screen, and we love to hear your story. But, obviously this is around production, guys. Welcome to Monday's Mastermind series with top agent experts, highlighting the people and top agent experts that are the top 2% producers like Amanda, and what makes them special. They're sharing their secret sauce. And so to be able to have her here today is a blessing. So I'm gonna let you take it from here, Amanda.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Adam. Thanks for having me. And I will share a little bit about our story. This is my husband, Rodney, here. We are in Central Indiana, and Rodney and I met in real estate, actually. So our marriage is a product of meeting in real estate, which is a little scary. However, in 2012, we decided to join efforts and create what is now the Herd Real Estate team. At that point, we had an abundance of leads that we couldn't even keep up with. So that created the need to build a team, but the desire was how many livelihoods can we impact and create, right? So building a team was more about who can we contribute to, with an abundance of leads that we were just dropping the ball on, to be honest. Just transparently, we were dropping the ball. We're based out of Central Indiana, and we're also licensed in Florida. And then we have a network globally as well. So, oh, wow, that's my dog. I apologize. I'm actually at home, and it sounds like Rodney actually just pulled up. He seems to do this to me a lot. So my apologies for the interruption.
That's a good noise canceling speaker that you have, because it's like it just muffled it a little bit, but I'm sure it was loud.
You can still hear it. Yeah, it's a German Shepherd. It was loud. Yeah, I do have a Yeti, and it's on omnidirectional, so is it a really good speaker. So yeah, it was Rodney.
Oh, yeah.
He has great timing with this kind of stuff.
You sound amazing. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, like I said, we were completely dropping the ball, and it was, hey, who can we grab? Who do we know? Right. So we reached out to some agents that we were in business with previously. Nate Van Pelt, who's still with us today. We have done a great job at generating leads, number one, making sure that agents that come to our team have leads pouring into their hands every day. But on top of that, because you don't want to waste effort, money, especially, right, and energy on online leads if you're not training and coaching on how to convert. So that conversion piece, and what Adam had mentioned earlier about skills. So we're in a market now where if you don't have skills, it's not happening, right? You have to have elevated conversations. You have to know how to have a conversation that can actually pace and lead someone forward, right? And then bring value to them, meet them where they're at, bringing that value, and then knowing how to continually have a closing strategy, working them toward making a decision. You're not necessarily closing them, you're helping them making a decision and come to that. Nobody teaches anybody how to make decisions. Nobody likes to make decisions, right? Unless you're in a world like ours. But with that, from 2012 since, we have been training heavily on skills, script to dialogue, skill set, how to do a buyer consultation, how to do a listing presentation. It's just the norm when coming to our team. And I realized as I coach too, that not everyone focuses on this. So this is something that I absolutely want to share. And the first piece is the goal setting piece, right? So you come to our team or you come to our EXP organization, tell me a little bit about what you want and, where you're at now and where you want to be. So that's the first thing I'd challenge all of you. If you haven't taken a moment with yourself to sit down and ask yourself, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? I'm sure it looks different in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years, definitely 10 years. I'm sure it looks different than where you're sitting at now. So that's the first question that's asked. And then what are those goals, right? And then it's how do we get you there? So mindset is one of the first things. And let me switch my screen here. So be, do, have, and there's 2 books that I coach around and have for years now that will actually help get you there to be that person, right? It's who do you have to become? What behaviors do you need to instill to reach that desired outcome, right? And then once you know who you need to become, what do you do? What are those actions that reach that goal that then get you that desired outcome, right? Whether it's a big house, a vacation, no matter what that is, I think people generally, and if you take a moment and think about this yourself, you usually are just putting that off thinking, oh, but I need more skills, but I need this, but I need that, but I need that before I can have this, right? So then you get stuck in this universe of you're just paralyzed, let's say, right? Just completely paralyzed. And it's a cycle that ends up either we get burnout or we lose interest, right? So how committed are you to getting there is the big question. Are you interested or are you committed? That's the big thing. I think a lot of us go through life very interested in things and we think, oh, maybe I could have interest in that, but what are you 100% committed to? That's what you have to ask yourself. So when you're thinking be, do, have, and if this is new to some of you, it's about truly who do you need to become? So what are those behaviors? And let me just tell a little story because I think this is a way for everyone to connect. Let's think about weight loss. Okay. I'll use myself being completely vulnerable here. Last July, literally ended up in the ER, and then my shoulds became my musts, right? If you're a Tony Robbins fan, he consistently talks about that. You will get in action when your shoulds, I should do this, become I must do this. And that's what happened to me. It was I was on tour in Florida, actually with Jeff Willems. We were doing some crypto conferences and seminars, came back and life had just caught up with me. I was at the heaviest I'd been, 168 pounds. I took matters into my own hand. August 1st, I literally started 75 hard, finished it, and lost 25 plus pounds since. I'm down like 30 something. And I say that because I want to take you back to that moment. Do you think I stayed in the same behaviors and I was the same person that put on that weight when I lost it? Right? So think about that. There's many things in life that, we are challenged with in those moments. And weight loss to me is just one that we can all connect to. So I had acquired all that weight. I was eating sugar and fat and whatever I wanted to. I was drinking alcohol. I haven't had a drink since end of July last year. I've eliminated a lot of sugar. I'm still like the sugar, but I have changed the way I eat. I do intermittent fasting now, right? So none of that was happening as I got to 168 pounds, but I changed all those behaviors. I dove in, my shoulds become my must, and I was 100% committed to making sure all my numbers were on track. So I give you that just to give you that one example on what be, do, have is. So who did I have to become? A completely different person, right? With what I was doing on a daily basis. So how do you figure out who do you need to become? So think about what your goal is. Let's say if it's weight loss, that's one that's out there everywhere. There's so much available to you, right? If it's business and you don't know, or you're not connected with an organization as lucky as we all to be with EXP and each other, right? Or a team even more specifically that is leading the way, then you have to find that mentor or that coach that you can immerse yourself into their world and understand, what does this look like? And yeah, what do I need to be doing, right? You've got to have processes, systems, best practices in place in order to meet production goals. But mindset is a huge piece. So do you have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? So one of the biggest keys in ramping up into using this be, do, have principle is to make sure that you have a growth mindset, that you're not caught into the little things, into the strategies, watching the news, etc., right? You want to be in a leadership growth mode. And I don't mean you necessarily have to be a leader of people, just lead by example and lead yourself into the do's so you can have. Hopefully that makes sense there. So on these pieces, let's just take this market, like Adam mentioned earlier. So deals were just dropping in people's laps over the last 5 years, right? Even though you ran into multiple offers and you might have needed to write multiple times with that same client, you still knew that client was yours. You found them pretty easy. And if you were professional at all, you were able to maintain that relationship because of the market we were in. Now it's a little different, right? And it's different in every niche area, I understand. And actually, I know even in our market, like I'm sure it is in the rest of yours, we have, certain price ranges that are more hot than others. But with that skill set, you've got to understand people, first of all, know behavioral styles. If you haven't taken a disc yourself and you haven't coached on that, that's something I absolutely 100% believe in, because that is your first step to understanding you and understanding who's in front of you. Who are you talking to? Who you're talking to on the phone? So those pieces are some of the pieces that can launch that. Okay, so I need to become somebody who understands behavioral styles. I need to become someone who is working on my skills daily. What skills? Script to dialogue, maybe NLP, right? Better conversations. How do I lead and pace? How do I build rapport is another piece to that, right? So these are just some beginner type skill sets, but there's a lot of agents that didn't even have to tap into those over the last 5 years. And I know a lot of you could agree with that, or maybe that's you, right? Maybe you're just realizing you're in this transition phase. So truly, who do you have to become? Then it's, what do I do, right? What are the actions I take? And am I interested or am I committed? Because in be, do, have, if you're 100% committed to what that is that you're ready to commit to, right? If you're all in, you will do the actions. If you are not, you'll just be interested and you'll be in and out, right? You'll be in and out and you're going to be in the same place you were. So this is a all in, what are my goals type of situation. So then you do the actions. Then you're figuring out, how am I blocking my week, right? How am I blocking my week in order to perform? When am I prospecting? If I'm not good at prospecting or I don't know how, let's get you those skills first, right? But a big piece to the individual skills is also managing you. Managing you is something that generally everyone comes to us and they've never blocked their schedule. They've never had a performance block, a buffer block. They've never really taken the time to even look at an entire week, score it, and then move forward to a new skill set, right? Because if you chunk it down, then it's doable. I have all these things, and even we were talking about this earlier, there's so much out there right now, especially when you're with EXP. My gosh, corporate, what do we have? Almost between 50 and 90 live hours, I believe, of education just in the world. And then there's everything that is recorded. So it's figuring out where you need to be, when you need to be. And then if you've been all in on those performance blocks, now it's time to spend time with your family, yourself, enjoy life at the same time, right? You've got that counterbalance piece. So that's be, do is the action, right? And then the have happens because you've done all the work to get there. And you knew what the vision was and who you had to become in order to meet those goals. I hope that makes sense. It's almost like, and you guys have probably heard this before, fall in love with the process, let go of the outcome, right? Be detached from the outcome and fall in love with the process. So I'm sure you guys have heard that. That's a little bit about how be, do, have works. And there is, I'm going to take a quick drink of water here. There's 2 books I want to share along with this. On these 2, like I said, there's something I coach from for years now. And the first one is Emotional Intelligence. Let me get close enough to where you can see that. There we go. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And what this is going to do for you is it's going to help you self-manage, relationship manage. It's going to bring you social awareness and that self-awareness. And with Emotional Intelligence 2.0, you could read this book 5 times in a year, the next year, depending on what's going on in your life at that point. You're going to take something from that you didn't get the first time. And there's actually a really nice survey in the beginning that you can score yourself on. Once you take that, after you go through your action plan, you can rescore yourself. So it's pretty interesting to see how you grow as a human. And remember, this isn't just a business book. This is a you book. This is a bring you into action. How can I get better at self-management? How can I get better at relationship management? So this will increase your productivity and your sales if you can just take this.
Amanda, I think,
Yeah.
I think we lost you, Amanda. Are you back?
Oh, I am
Okay.
here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were loud and clear and all the way up until the point that this was going to take us and allow us to get what result again?
Oh, okay. I was on emotional intelligence?
Yeah, you've gone 5 seconds, 3,
Oh
5.
gosh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about that. So yeah, on the emotional intelligence, that gets you the result of knowing yourself better to be able to know your clients better, right? So that production will go up because you then become more effective. It's all about building those skills, and the emotional intelligence starts with you and scoring yourself, seeing, where are you at there so that you can then have that action plan and work on those skills. So it all boils down to being more productive, efficient, right? Which means more dollar bills in your account is really where that is. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that. You can always reach out to me and I can get you on the path to get moving on that quick. It is an amazing book. The second book that we coach on, and this one's only been about 2 years, and this is 12-week year. This one's a little newer, so not everybody kind of is in that mindset yet, but it basically builds an amazing sense of urgency because it looks at every year as a 12-week period. And this was taken from the mindset of athletes. So if you think about a track runner or an Olympian, they are focusing on one specific skill for a 12-week period. And in that 12 weeks, that is all they're committed to 100%. They're not interested, right? They're committed. And in that 12-week, they are focused on that skill to then build on future skills. I hope that makes sense. And that is the one thing I feel like we miss in a sales world, right? Not just real estate, but anyone who's in sales. We're always so attached to that outcome that we forget it's that process and building those little skills that ends up making us so efficient and effective. That's when the dollar bills come. So 12-week year is amazing. It takes you through establishing a vision, a plan. It helps you block your schedule. You're actually scoring yourself every week on how you did. And you're picking a few skills, some personal, some business, right? to focus on for that 12-week period. And at the end of the 12 weeks, you reward yourself, right? So everybody wants some reward. So did you meet, all your goals? Did you be, do, and have, right? So that have comes toward the end. If you fall in love with that process, that have will be there. And if you can just be detached. But 12-week year, I can't even explain to you how these guys have just come up with a way to take an annual 365-day plan. And let me back up. So think about this. Think about right now, it is what? May, right? Maybe you set your goals at the beginning of the year, end of last year, and you wanted to do, let's just say 25 transactions as a goal, 30 as a stretch, and let's say 40 as your dream goal, right? You're moving and grooving. It's been a little bit of a different year. All of a sudden you're looking down and you've done 12 deals and it's May. And you're like, okay, I got time. I got more than 6 months. I'm good. I can get this, right? And just that thought process right there puts that so far out that you have most of the time zero sense of urgency. I know you guys can probably agree with that. So compress that 365 days into a 12-week period that is 1 year. And all of a sudden it changes, right? And then we create peer groups, which, for example, on my team, Fridays, everybody meets. They've got their WHAM, their weekly accountability meeting. And it's just a quick, 10, 15 minute, but it's a quick, hey, where are you at? What are you doing? And that accountability piece. So you've got that's ingrained into it. And then Sundays, you're scoring yourself to see how you did. So it's a way to self-manage. And then if you can create that peer accountability with it, it's huge. And if you're on a team or building a team, I can't suggest this enough to look into and really embrace. It will take you to the next level for sure. All right. So growth mindset versus fixed mindset, handling crisis, right? So I brought this back out during COVID, but I keep talking about it because the media has us in crisis. Would you guys agree? For sure, right? The media has us in major crisis, and that is what everybody dives into. And we as leaders to our clients, give me 1 second. Apologize again. We as leaders with our clients need to make sure that we are not in the rabbit hole of the news, the negativity, etc., right? So this is a great slide to kind of just show you, when we're in crisis, and this for now, it's rates, it's the market, it's the new mortgage interest that they're going, or we're going to pay more if we have a good credit score versus a low credit score. It's everything they're throwing at us right now, right? So if you look here, the fear zone, this is where we don't want to be. And this might have been where we all were in a certain place, when COVID came out. We were trying to navigate through it, right? But the leaders rose quickly. So your fear zone is when you get paralyzed. You're just ingesting the negativity, the news, the doom, the gloom, etc. Zone 2, and maybe some of you are here because I think we all have each other to lean on, and we can bounce off of each other. Hey, what's going on in your market? What's going on in your market? Or you're hearing from your leaders, hey, stay the course. It's different in every market. Just keep building those relationships and you'll get there. So I think a lot of us can get to the learning zone, but can we move from there, right? So that learning zone is when basically, okay, what I can't control is what's in the fear zone, okay? And then how do I take action, right? How do I prioritize? So you need to do it, but it's maybe, are you leading yet? You're just stuck in that consumption mode, but you've moved away from the catastrophe and the tragedy. 3, growth zone. When you're using this zone, right, you're better yourself. You're making progress. You're prioritizing. You're actually keeping your routine, staying productive, and you're feeling good. You're executing, right? We talked earlier about how do you execute at a high level. Mindset is the first and foremost thing that you need in order to execute at a high level. You can execute at a high level with the right mindset, but you will end up losing interest because you weren't 100% committed, and or you'll burn out and fade away. That's normally what happens. So if you're all in on this, guys and gals, it is mindset driven. So leadership zone, that's where you're the one that's identifying the problems. You're stepping up and coming from solution. You're leading the pack, whether it's with your clients or if you have a team or if you have an entire organization. You are a leader by example, first and foremost. So how you run, right? What you put out there absolutely matters, right? You're providing a light. You're that shining light that's bright, that hope. So think about your relationship with your clients right now. I challenge you, if you haven't been this shining light and hope and guiding leader, then reach back out, reconnect on a different level, reestablish that trust if you've blown it, right? That happens. If you've blown it with your clients or somehow they're blaming you for the market or a offer that didn't get accepted, reach back in, right? Reach back in with a different mindset, reestablish that trust and keep moving forward, because now you're going to realize, hey, I've got to work on this skill set, right? I don't know how to reestablish trust. It wasn't something I was born with. How do I build rapport? How do I lead and pace? How do I mirror and match? You know, all of these things that you can take as a skill set and move forward with it. So I hope that kind of bringing that all together helps. And then give me 1 second. So there's the 2 books, Be, Do, Have. And then I actually have just want to tie together, and I don't really have a slide for this. It didn't even come to my mind until we were sitting here or I'm talking to you. But with the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 and 12-week year, the skill set piece, and I didn't put it in here, and I'm not sure if many of you have heard of this book, but it's called Ninja Selling. And that is another piece that's skill set in a way that, no, they're not going to teach you how to prospect and how to actually deliver a conversation, but they are going to teach you how to keep up with your clients, how many times you should be touching them, what is a, how do I learn about behavioral style, etc. Should I be connecting? How do I network? So that with new agents right now, that's been coming up so much, because I think a lot of people get into this business and they're thinking, I just want to show homes, right? Or, oh, I see on HGTV, da, 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 or I want to be an investor. There's so many reasons people get into this than what it is, because reality versus, what people think it is completely different. And that Ninja Selling book, I love it too, because it pretty much walks you through what you should be doing. And then you can get a deeper skill set by being either on the right team, having the right mentor, and immersing yourself into someone who is successful. So yeah, I will pause there, Adam. I feel like I've been rambling for a minute.
Gosh, man, you kind of like took me back down memory lane, with a few things. And then you guys know, once I get going and her and I start rapping, it will be the end, because it will just be how I'll flow, guys. So if you guys got questions, fire them away. It's like, I mentioned this on the live with Tom too, and it's like most of my coaching right now, or whatever, to my partners, or people ask me for stuff because I don't coach for dollars anymore. It's like it's like I'm barely keep up with everything else I'm doing, and it's like when I look at it, it's like the emotional intelligence piece is the most important piece to build that muscle, and then the reframing of the conversation. And I believe that it's like the better you get at that, it infinitely makes everything else better, right? And early on in my career, I had blind spots, and I talk about those. And the hard 75, I'm like 16 months into, I've done it 5 times and got to 69, 74, 72, 16, and now whatever on this run. But it isn't about the weight loss or any of that, even though I on Tom's deal, I showed I had a 6-pack, and I've done it multiple times over the last couple of years. But it's like I was in better shape then when I was failing, and then pick back drinking up or whatever than I am now. But I'm a better emotional intelligence, and my mental models are definitely upgrading. And I talk about what got me here isn't going to get me, like what I said in Cabo, where I need to go in the future. And so upgrading that operating system is where it's at, guys. And so I got a lot of other things I want to touch on to answer some questions, but I'm gonna let you guys fire away. Anyone have any other questions? Let me see here. All right. Well, here's what we're gonna do. When you brought up Ninja Selling, And it is being what new agents need to like be studying. They're not going to teach you how to prospect or this and that. It's like what came to mind before you even said what they're going to do. It's like they're going to actually, you know, show you what matters and get you to think about things that matter. And they put it in you know, some creative writing and content. And it's like I still have a packet from the Ninja Selling, if it's the same company, I'm sure it is.
Oh yeah.
It's like 40 pages long. It's like it was like, and that was one of their free reports they gave away on the internet. Like today, you like that would be somebody's whole like program or course, but that was just like give them an email address, and that's what type of value you were getting back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you talk about you have to get agency now and you have to do these things, at least on the buyer side, that we didn't have to necessarily do. And so sitting down and doing consultations and, you know, like really being connected with that person and having a longer, we'll say, you know, relationship cash conversion cycle with them, like not just like get in the car, let's go write offers or just run and gun, right? It's like, we got a portfolio, we got a game plan, we have a relationship, we have signatures, we have we know strategically and financially what we're doing and why we're doing it. And more importantly, you're a good fit for me, you know, and we're a good fit for each other. And start interviewing these people and sifting and sorting through them. It could like emotionally wear you out if like you don't have a process that Amanda was talking about, because they have a process and they will get you to follow their process if you're not emotionally self-aware enough to say no, to say no. No will make you a lot more money. And people are like, oh, you're turning that down, or look, but I plant the seed. I'll go do something for them one time and then make the offer again. And so they know how I work. I've already done them a favor. I'm operating from the law of reciprocity, differentiating myself from the part-timers and all that stuff. You know, when I did the Tony Robbins deal, I thought it was a rah-rah and a joke, and I was still young. I thought Gerbic was taking me. It seems like Courtney brought it up. Seems like it gets brought up every other week. I'm really shocked by the Monday. We'll just say like the actual team leaders, not necessarily the icons, but I'll say the team leaders that have scaled and, you know, dealt with turnover and ran hard for a lot of years. It seemed like that Tony Robbins had like been a pivoting point in a lot of people's life. I'm curious. I didn't catch the year. What year was that for you?
So Tony Robbins UPW was just last November. Actually, it wasn't early on. I was one of those who like, I should go do that. I should go do that. And then I didn't, right? But man, when I was there, it just all made so much sense. And it did offer what I would say, and he talks about this, if any of you have been to Build. So he talked about certainty, right? So I think what I found at UPW was clarity and certainty in everything that I had been doing, to even go to another level when clearly we had, you know, reached many levels in our life, but even to take it to that next level. So, you know, wherever it is in your career, I just feel like he brings it all together, and he strips you down, right, Adam? I mean, he strips you down if you will be open to it, to where, you're revisiting some things and realizing the patterns that you have, that you're just in your own way. So
yeah, there's a lot of emotion tied to it for sure. And it doesn't matter how old you are, young you are, you know, when it's like at first, you know, I was like, this ain't it. Like there's this fake. And it's like, then it's like jumping. I'm like, no, but what you said right there is so true. But it's for yourself. And it's like, he strips you down to your most vulnerable, rawest form of yourself. Like to where it's like you were like, I really didn't even know who I was. And then
agreed.
And then once you get comfortable with that, right? And then it's like you can start putting the foundation and the building blocks you know, back up. I went back home. This was my 13th year. It's probably 11 years when I went to, and it still stays with me today. And I've been wanting to go the last couple of years. I had tickets last year, or should have went in Florida. And I didn't get to make it, but I remember saying I wasn't going to walk Crossfire. I wasn't going to do this. And it's like I was doing and just going through the motion in my life with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I went back home, and it was like, I was married at the time, and I literally sat in my office in my chair and stared at the wall for like 6 hours, because I was thinking about every decision that I was going to have to make when I got out of this chair, and how important it was, and how much it was going to affect me in designing my life by design. And normally I'm a fast paced, like
Yeah.
let's go type of guy. And I literally was like, oh my gosh. And it's
Yeah.
like, and then I was overthinking. I wasn't saying I was overthinking. I just started to look at the world different. I looked at myself different spiritually. And then I understood that I had more control to pull things into my life than I never knew,
Yeah.
yeah, like the reactor in our brain or whatever. It's like,
Yep.
like we've always heard like, well, if you're positive, the law of attraction, but there's a bunch of other laws like the law of action and all of that stuff too. Like, and I love chicken and I quit eating chicken for a long time. And like I mean, it just, I'll be forever indebted to Mike for getting me there. Because then what it did, it would stop me to start following and track a bunch of other people in that industry that have made me become a better human being, because we can sell houses, we can do all this stuff. This is exactly what I told Tom, and I wasn't talking, I was like just going off, and I had some of the same slides with the journey, but you will get burnt out. You will get burnt out, you'll get frustrated, and it will happen time and time again, and you'll be unhappy, you'll have all the awards, you'll be an alcoholic, your friends will hate you, you won't have a life with your family, whatever. But it's like you're doing it because what? Because you're competitive, because in your mind you think that this is what you have to do, right?
I
And
think that's the big one right there, right? You literally think this is the role, this is what I have to do, and you just become unconscious as to even why you're doing it.
right,
You're just, like you
right.
said, going through the motions. Yeah, I think
So
that's
when you would,
huge.
yeah, normally you got to have a lot of emotional intelligence to be in a husband and wife team. And congratulations to you and Rodney, by the way. I am for whatever reason, I got a lot of husband and wife teams that have partnered with me, and I was like, they are beautifully in sync and in harmony with each other with, the day-to-day operations, the fire, the finances, all that stuff. I don't mean to get too personal, but how long have you and Rodney been together? What got into real estate first? Did you get in because he got in, or did you pull him in, or you guys make the commitment together out of middle school?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to share. We've got a pretty good story really that maybe people could connect to, and it's not all, rainbows and roses for sure. So no, I was licensed back in 96, not to date myself, but I've been licensed forever. This is a second marriage for Rodney and I. So I was in a Remax office and he joined actually as a second career. He was in a foundry, which I still to this day cannot imagine Rodney's personality in a foundry for, I think it was 18 years. So just, not in a role that he was happy with, but he had a family and kids and, he needed to provide, and you just match that role like we were talking about. So we actually met. And the first year he was actually rookie of the year, and he was opposite of me, as far as
that's why you started dating him. He was rookie of the year.
Yeah, well, we didn't start dating at first.
Okay.
But he came in and he was killing it. And he didn't know a thing. So he would always come to me and be like, hey, I have a question. Hey, I have a question. I'm like, this guy's just making relationships all over the place. And I was the person at that time that needed to kill everybody with my intellect, right? Like, I'm going to get your business because I know the most, because I am so smart, all those things. And then I see him just going out there knocking on doors and getting all of these things. Now, just to be clear, I did end up making more than him. He just sold more houses. He worked a little harder, but but it was year one.
You had to get that in, Rodney, if you're listening.
Yeah. So that's how we met. And then a couple of years later, I was already divorced. He was, I think, in the middle of getting divorced when he came to the office. We just ended up staying connected, and we had tried to do the team thing together without even like we weren't even interested in each other. That,
right.
I would say, call me on that, people, because that gets tough. That gets tough if you don't have a lot of stay in your lane kind of moments and guidelines.
Right. Yeah.
So that really didn't work out for us. He got a job being a team leader at KW in Charleston, South Carolina. So I'm like, oh, you know what? That sounds fun. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave everything I know, which was a little crazy, but we tried to make the most of it. Mm-hmm. They ended up closing all the market centers except one and let the team leaders go. So we stuck it out. We went to a company called Agent Owned at the time that actually had the similar idea of EXP, but they're on a very small scale, and made the most of it. My parents got sick. We came back to Indy. From there, we're like, you know what? We just got to start killing it, hitting it hard, because we had to hustle. Because we honestly, this is transparently, we were both broke and in debt. Mm-hmm. Literally, I think I had 30 some odd thousand in credit card debt because I was living off that, right? And I had money in a previous life. I ruined it. Like, I literally spent all my money. It was insane. he was in a similar situation with a divorce, blah, 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 right? So we land back here. And that's exactly when we decided, you know what, let's get over each other, get our egos out of the way and put our efforts together and create this team. And that was at the end of 2012. And from there, and you know the name Bob Corcoran. So
Yeah, you're right.
we needed a in-your-face guy. You know, I'm the person that if somebody's in my face, I'm going to respond. If they're just laid back and, you know, I might not respond. Rodney was the same way. He's a Marine. So Bob, we hired Bob to help us get there, and he did. And, you know, I owe that to him because he was like, you guys can commit to this. You know, you can ask for things that other teams aren't asking for in your area, because there weren't even really teams in our area at that time. So he kind of led the way in the pace on that. We ended up opening our own brokerage before we came to EXP. And that's our story on how we met. Now, are we in sync all the time? Hell no. We are both high. I think he's high I, high D. I'm high D, high I, right? So it's this. And if we don't know our lanes, and if we're not constantly reassessing and pivoting, then yeah, it can get sideways. But that does nothing for anyone, and it definitely hurts the team.
So I like the 12 weeks still. So let me ask this: the principles of the mutual agreement. Then it's like I picked this up from Bob Corcoran before that book. I actually, in my first 3 years in real estate, I never took one day off. I just didn't. You guys know, if you heard the story, I started out making $300 a week because I've sent appointments for $100 a pop as ISA, built it up, 24 houses here. And Bob was coaching us, and I started coaching with him with Mike, and I was telling him I didn't take a day off. Granted, not every day is full days or whatever, but you're thinking about real estate. It's radical that you're talking about. It was hard to get deals. It was like, I can't let one little opportunity slip. I had to maximize everything and tap root through every seller and buyer. And he's like, dude, you got to learn to take time off. I was like, I'm young, I'm ambitious.
I don't need it.
You don't understand about energy management. And it was like, I was focused on time management because I was thinking I could put more time in, and that would mean that I would get more output or net results. And then I was listening to him, and then mixing Tony Robbins with the energy management. And I even changed the hours in our whole call center and everything. And Gerbick's like, why they work less hours now and this and that? It's like for maximum output versus going through autopilot emotion. And then it's like, they know that too. So when they're there, they appreciate that extra time off. And it's just
100%.
Bob called it, you're burning yourself at both ends of the candle.
Yeah.
That's what he would call it. And he said, what you need to do if you're going to work like this, go on 90-day sprints. And so he said, and Bob got me to do this. I never started doing this until he told me, work hard for 90 days and take 1 week off. You got a month off. I was like, dude, there's no way I could ever take a month off in my business. He's like, I'll help you. And so I was able to go to Mexico. And he made me shut it down. It was weird as hell shutting it down. But you know what? Nobody cares. Like when we say we have all this internal pressure and perception and it's amazing how life goes on without us. Or
that was a UPW lesson for me. That was one where I'm like, I want to be all for everyone. It was almost unconscious. I was always saying yes. And then now if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Yeah, hell no. That was a UPW piece for me.
Yeah. And this is where some people are getting to know me in my life, and we're growing fast. And it's like that consistency to show up. And then when people kind of put you maybe in that mediocre box, or they question you, it's kind of like, man, like you don't even know who you're dealing with, but you just got to keep showing up every day and just do it. And when you're talking about people like, I got to show them how much I know. Like, that's kind of how I was. And it was like, man, I learned they don't give a shit how much you know until they really know how much you care. Right.
Yes.
And so we had Trent. He was our operation guy. He passed away. He'd been with me 7 years. He's like, dude,
I knew Trent.
I came from like the bottom working. And then when I was getting bigger, I still tried to operate with him, that same mentality, that same mental model. And he's like, dude, you got to be the person that, is going around shaking hands and kissing babies. And then you can work behind stuff on closed doors, but you can't always just do this, care about the KPIs. We got to know about the key performance indicators, but we got it down to every breath, what's going on. And, and John Cheplack talks about that too, when I was on there with him, and I know you're tied in with them, and I know how they do not believe in the disc profile over there. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because I didn't hire to the disc per se. It wasn't like the be all, but I will say when I listen to them, it's kind of like, well, they're okay. We're not just trying to fog a window, and that's not what he's saying. It's like, but I do agree with him, that I had went against the disc a few times, and I let a few of my managers, and it worked out. But there is, if you put me in a transaction coordination role, if it said that you're going to pay $1 million, I'm going to fill out an application for it. And if you put me in that seat, do you think Adam Bailey is going to be a good fit for that role?
Hell no. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
my seat, my S and my seat are
Yeah.
like gone.
Well, that's exactly what you have to look at, right? So I never used it to pinhole somebody. Oh, no, I can't have you over here. Right. But that's true. Like whatever is your strength, that's what you should be playing to. That's really how I look at it. And then to coach the agents on how to communicate with others, right? Based on decision making. Really sales.
I'm glad that you brought it up because, John's a booming, coaching company now is like top thing. And I remember when he had a suit and tie on, like it was just coaching, and Kinder had him on stage. And I'd only been licensed for 6 months, and I watched him build a phenomenal company too. But a lot of people kind of bought into, I don't know about the disc, and it's like whatever. And so it's good to hear that, it really does matter, because me being a young leader, Gerber gave me a huge opportunity, not because of where I was at the time, but what he saw me becoming, and and navigated and kept, for the most part, the wheels on the wagon. But I'm blessed for it. But it was like that disc profile really helped me understand psychology. I graduated high school in the hood. I have no college experience or anything about that. And so that kind of helped me get in tune with, not everybody thinks like Adam Bailey, because Amanda, you kind of think like me over the years, right? When I met you, we can say Rodney's a high D, but he's a laid back D. He actually is quieter than you. And it's like, and so when I heard you speak about that, I'm glad that it's still like, let's get the right people on the right seat of the bus, but let's also hire off, like character and core values, and, just like their commitment to them changing, because people can change, some of their behaviors and stuff like that over time. Give me a couple glasses of wine and my eye really shoots up. Right. But
right. Well, and I think that's so true. It's like, what do you see in them that can get them where they want to be or where you need them to be? And it's a match, right? So that's where it comes in handy on the hiring piece. Like our assistant, Diana, she had 0 real estate experience. She was very shy, high S, but I knew I could get her somewhere if she just, hung on. And that, it wasn't always maybe a fit in the beginning. She didn't believe in it. Right. But it's who do you need to become, right, in order to be, do, have. I mean, that's really what it is. And everybody, if people wouldn't have seen things in us, you, Adam, me too, you know what I mean? We wouldn't be where we're at today. So
Yeah, that ESO is a little tricky. Mark Benefield was our director of coaching, and he's in disc certification through Sandler and all that. And he was like how we hired ISAs and did stuff even for our network and stuff back then. He's like, he started hiring to a little bit different disc than we were used to. And then I ain't been on calls in a while. I'm like, Mark would never say that. And then I'm like, no. And then he's like, no, here's why. And then I was like, okay. And he's like, they care about security a little more. They don't want to become an agent as fast. So we're gonna get some retention in the seat. It's just got to be within this range. And so then we started kind of toying around with that. And I was like, we hit luck a few times, not just with us, but even our coaching clients, where it worked, because it's like, when I think of the S, it's like, it isn't an ISA, or
it wouldn't come to mind first, but you know what, they do sell from care, concern, and empathy naturally, usually.
Right. With the buyer leads, that's what he was saying, and that's what we were on, is the buyer internet leads, calling and customizing the home hunter alert. So I don't even know what time it is, but we got we got a few minutes here. I got a question to ask you, and it's probably two-pronged. How many deals did you guys close? What's your unit? And like, besides that, I love that story. We were broke. Our egos were, bigger than each other's. There was, a power struggle. What I was going to ask about mutual agreements, like, so every 90 days I was taking this break. And usually this is where I'm making changes to mutual agreements or thinking about my life, in the past 90 days and where I'm going. And I haven't broke out like that still currently. When do you guys deal with the actual problems where like you mutually agree to not cross that line or you're going to get a flat tire, right? It's like, exactly. How do you know? Because it's a lot of us, like, she's really good at it. So it's the unspoken rules, like in baseball, that you guys are picking up on the nuances, or do you like really sit down and say, this is a non-negotiable if this is going to work. And how often do you guys do that?
Yeah, we actually, so Bill Pipes is our actual coach, right? And
Yeah.
we are still heavily, even though I'm a coach, we are still heavily coached. As a husband and wife team, I would 100% recommend that, just because there's always that third party there to
Yeah.
weigh in, right? So we, on a weekly basis at this point, you know, and Bob Corcoran was that coach forever. But
Yep.
in moving to Bill, it's a good way for Rodney and I, because we're not a lot of times saying the same thing, but we're actually wanting the same result. That's where we get in trouble. So we can pick up on those nuances, and we know where we're headed, and we bring that to Bill. He's part of our board of directors, right? And hammer that out. You know, some calls, it's just, hey, how are we maneuvering next? Who are recruiting? What are your numbers? Blah, blah, blah. But literally once or twice a month.
So
That
all of
is-
these years later, you're still having to do it a couple times a month to keep the cadence and the peace at home.
Yes. Well, yeah, absolutely. Because I would be divorced if we hadn't. I am the one that can't turn it off. Rodney is amazing at turning it on and off, right? He can literally go play golf or go work out in the middle of the day and come back to it.
But
Never
then your
turned on.
resentment's building because you got all of this stuff in your head and you're over here taking action. You're like, I don't know how he can do that, right? It's like, but you're already winning. But you got to learn to do the same thing and not judge him, right? If that's what you choose to do.
Right.
Extra
That's
time.
exactly it. That happened years ago. But then the other piece is
Yeah.
like, you're always on your phone. You know, he's even my husband in the business owner. You're always this, you're always that. So I'm like, yeah, I need to pay attention or I'm not going to be married. So it is all so critical. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And it's not easy. It's not always easy, but we have so much fun at what we do. So you know what I mean? We're passionate about this. I think you do have to find your passion.
Yeah, I don't care if you guys are selling vacuums or Girl Scout cookies door to door. It's like what I've seen and what I've learned over the years. And then like just the last 5 years, how many husband and wife teams, it's like there's something, you know, magical, but I think it's an actually healthy communication with it's like, you know, sitting down, being able to communicate, talk about things, but make those micro commitments. And it's like you said it earlier, it's like nothing's going to change if nothing changes, right? And it's like if you make commitments and then, you know, when you made that commitment, those emotions wore off and those habits don't stay. And there's rituals, it's like it will sag back down to what it was before. And so you guys are, you know, all these years later still being, but like you had to learn how to sit down and talk about these things, or they would stack up.
Yeah.
And then it would come out, and then you're like, there's a better way to release steam or to be mature with the emotional intelligence piece to this.
That's it. That emotional intelligence, I think for both of us was a big key in growing into that. Yeah. As business owners and husband wife. Yeah.
My young leaders listening to this will probably be like emotional intelligence. You know, that I got 25-year-olds. Daniel hopped on here. He's been with us since he was 28. He's got 200 agents, or not 28, 23. I'm sorry, years old. And now he's 28 and he's got a couple hundred agents. Went off and built his own traditional team. Great guy, but it's like I've watched these guys grow kind of like other people have with me, and it's like good to see. But when you're in it, you don't know you're in it. So how is emotional intelligence going to help me solve more calls or sell more houses? Like, how's it helped you guys? And what's your one thing? That is how you execute. You make that emotional intelligence stronger so you can focus and be more disciplined for a more consistent time with making good decisions and not lapse in judgment like over that 90 days and being able to then, you know, rest and then, you know, fill your cup. And, you know, I watched some stuff and studied some stuff around people get stuck in learning. They learn, and they never start creating what they're learning because all these things that you talk about.
Input, output. Yes.
Right. And then there's some people that just create. They don't never stop to role play. They don't never stop to listen to their calls or review presentations or make changes. They just create, push. And they don't ever do the others. So they stay stuck in them pillars that you're talking about. And so you have to be able to learn and get to that level. Then you have to start to think about things and formulate the plan and then take action towards your goals. And so I love all that, you know, and it's like, I don't know where I got learn, think, and create from. I remember I was watching YouTube and studying psychology and sales and weird stuff I went down the wormhole on, try to get better at. And then I'm listening to you with this book and I'm like, man, that kind of sounds familiar. And I didn't never know, but you know, are you, like listings, buyer business, what's us the makeup of your guys' team? I mean, you're
Yeah,
prospecting.
so but we actually just revamped last year. So we were very heavy, just a couple listing specialists, all buyer specialists, but now we've invited anyone who wants to do both sides. We'll train them on both. We still have our separate leads team that is all in on buyer leads, right? And that's where they're moving and grooving every day. Leads are coming into their lap. And we're actually doing Monday Mayhem right now and prospecting all day, every Monday in May. So I don't know if they're on here or they should be prospecting, right? But that,
Right.
I want to go back to what you said. So the team can grow and pivot. So if you are growing a team, if you're not emotionally intelligent and you're the leader, that's where you do have to slow down and just get a grip on your intention. What is your mission for your team? Where are you at? Because like Adam said, you'll be all over the place. Next thing you know, you're burnout and they're looking to you. They're looking at you to define some things and set that pace. And if you're all over the place and burnout, that's who's going to be following you. So if you find yourself internal dialogue complaining, you got to get back to your own emotional intelligence and then determine, okay, who do I want to follow me? Who do I want on my team? And not complain about it. But if you're not intentional first, it's going to always be very random and frustrating. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because you might think you got a set of principles or you believe a certain way, but none of that stuff matters. What matters is the actions you take and how you use your time and the net results that you get. And it's like a lot of people say, well, I'm not that type of person. And it's like, I know a mistake doesn't define your character, but it's like you've known it, or you don't do these things, or you say you've done them, or and clearly you cut corners or whatever. And so whether you like it or not, all of us, we fall in some type of category, some type of label, we're some type of statistic somewhere, right? And it's like, it doesn't matter what you say, it's the energy and the output and the vibration. And then if you're sagging down, then they see you doing it and it's like, oh, I can't get away with it. And then you start to create that mediocrity. And there's no peer-to-peer accountability. And that's the whole purpose of the emotional intelligence. You're getting honest with yourself and stripping your core down. And so then you could turn around and, do the same with others, like the peer-to-peer accountability group. Like we would hold our people like to the top down ran. And it was like, we were pushing a donkey up a hill, making calls, shutting leads off, doing all these different things. And we took a different approach with, a few, like, the 5 dysfunctions of a team came from Bob, and we did some gazelle coaching and a few other things. And then we had leaders, being developed in our organization. And then like accountability was love. And we had it on our wall, and we had big screens with the numbers on it, and everything was celebrated. And then it was like, if you weren't like, sticking to the standard and the mission and the values and all the principles, it's like you stuck out like a sore thumb, and we would not have to fire you or keep you for too long so you can mess up our culture. You would self-select. You would self-select your way out. So instead of me being weird and burnt out and frustrated, you're going to start feeling uncomfortable and unwanted, and you're going to feel like this is taking a lot of energy for you just to come have a cup of coffee because you're not doing what you need to be doing, right?
Let me just double down
on
that.
Shame.
So, I love it. So if you're on a team and you're the one that's uncomfortable, hello, emotional intelligence 2.0, 5 dysfunctions of a team. Think about it, right? If you're the one that's uncomfortable and you're throwing yourself into this environment and you're feeling resistance, that usually means you're not a cultural fit. So I love that you brought that up, Adam. I love that, because that is 100% the case.
Yeah. And then I loved our operation manager, everything he did for culture. But when that stuff would get brought to me, it's like, look, even if you're doing your monthly one-on-ones and they're not tracking things or whatever, it's not all about numbers. But if you show up and you're just emotional every month, because anything that isn't tied back to a behavior or an action that can be documented, for the current output, is emotional, not just the leads are bad or whatever, anything to do with the 7 days a week type of stuff. So I love it. You're getting back. I wouldn't say it basics. I call it basics because this is some of the fundamental things that I had to do that changed my life. I think it was a mix of them. Coaching with dang near everybody in the industry. The Tony Robbins event was huge with my life. And then I look at things with a much longer trajectory in terms of my life, and certain things like that you were like saying that you had aha moments with, and you're like, I caught on to it way later on in my life, but you've really been studying it and you've really kind of caught bits and pieces of it, but you've never had someone put it together like Tony did and show you. You've had a Lego here and you had this and you knew why certain things work. But it's like when you get to how the framework actually it can be like built like a race car, right?
Yeah.
And now you're like, wow, I could be driving faster and better and all this stuff. And so keeping the leads team, the buyer agents together, the varsity team, I would assume is what you guys call it, the varsity team.
Yep.
And then you got the B team, which they have more flexibility and control and say over their leads and stuff like that. I love that. That's what we've been doing for years with that. Now, how do I get on the A team and what type of production do I need to do? Now my emotional intelligence is up. I've been on the B team. I'm making a commitment. It's like I'm without a doubt committed, Amanda and Rodney. What is it? It's like,
absolutely. Yep, that expectation is to be prospecting daily, right? So many calls, so many appointments every week, clearly tracking all of that. But it's basically wanting to be all in full time, right? It's not a mindset of, oh, I've got this side gig, I've got that. Prior to just a couple of years ago, I didn't want anybody on the team that wasn't a full-time capacity. We have a few, like we separated the leads team, but to be on the leads team, you've got to be all in, because Adam, if you're not all in and you're distracted over here, you're never going to give the client what they need. You're not even going to ask the right questions because you're so distracted with everything else going on until you build that skill set to where you can be efficient and you can provide that service. So that all in piece is, hey, you're focused. There's accountability every day. There's accountability on top of 12-week year with the peer-to-peer. To me, that's where it lies, right? Because they're all here to create a livelihood. And if their teammate is wasting leads and they're not all in, then they're going to see that. And that peer-to-peer accountability is better than anything I could ever provide. It just changes the game 100%. But yeah, there's a lot of expectations with being on the leads team.
Yeah, the peer-to-peer accountability is where it's at, because your parent could get on you, your teacher, or I mean, if somebody from EXP corporate could say something to me, or Jeff Willems or Brent or whatever, it's like I really wouldn't care. It's like, but Mike is more than a friend and stuff. And I've had to call him when he never, it's a lot of times I solicit it, and it's like, when I hear it, it might not be what I need to hear, but he is like my peer, my friend. He's been my boss before. He's like been everything to me in my life. And it's like, if he's telling me this, it's like I carry more, like I let him down or I did something wrong, right? And so when they're just your peers, like who are they? Like they are not the boss. Like, why do they care? When the cat's away, the mice will play. And then it's like, well, if they care and everybody else cares, like I better step up too. And so it really is like, if you've ever seen that video on YouTube where the one guy goes dancing on the hill, dancing crazy, and slowly everybody starts dancing crazy, jumping around. And it goes to show is all you need is one person to commit to some crazy idea or a better way of doing some, and other people will be attracted to it as well. And it's like, that's it. So you got to change one person. And so I love it. The listing or buyer business, what's the makeup of your team? 50-50, 70-30? I didn't know.
No, it's probably 75 buyer agent and then the rest on the listing side as far as the team agents go. And then Rodney's still in production on the list side. I do a few here and there, but we've always been buyer heavy. And honestly, for the first probably 7 years, 80+% of our business was online leads. And it's still a big part of it. It is now our network, our past clients. Some of them are great friends. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's grown from there. Yeah,
I knew you guys were running that back, a while back, and then I didn't know here recently. So the May prospecting stuff, I love it, and I know you've been trying to get more involved with top agent experts and stuff like that. So I want to say thank you once again. Also, Discord is what I'm creating to kind of bring live and direct back. I have a lot of these. I have a lot of these younger guys that I mentioned that they all kind of want to like make these calls and do like push like what you're talking about, but they like still maybe a single agent or they're on a team with a bunch of veterans. It's more like a self-organized group. And it's like, why not us over there? And then it's like how we did live and direct with the call center and how we're building these things back up because it's, rebuilding the Wichita team in Toronto. It's the necessary evil that I'm knee deep into right now. But on the server, when I was listening to how Ricky Carruth was doing it, he said, a guy
He's
says,
got a big one. Yeah.
yeah. So I got on the on whatever Discord, these guys are prospecting all day on there in the server and role playing. And so I was like, man, we can take stuff that we're doing once a week or once a month or whatever and build a community around it. And it don't have to be Adam Bailey there, or Mark or Mike or Amanda or whoever.
Right.
Like we get that fire going, and then a leader is always guaranteed to show up for quality control. But eventually that and Ricky's stuff, it's like there's nothing planned, it's open. So it's like you show up, like another gamer shows up. You want to start playing a game? I'm ready. And then
right, let's go.
Right. And so the ease of that is what I'm looking to do. So hopefully maybe your guys can tie in if any of them are prospecting and wouldn't mind creating a Discord account. I will sync you into the top agent experts server rooms. And so I'm building out these like keyword rooms, I guess, because in top agent experts over the year or two, not just because of market shift, is losing engagement. And it's like, it's clogging up with stuff that you might only be interested in a couple of things. You got to scroll and scroll and scroll. And so people will lose interest. So then in Discord, it's much more collaborative.
You can pick it. Yeah.
So do you have an account? Oh, cool. I can't wait.
Yeah, I have an account. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. We were on Clubhouse all of, I think, 2020, 2021 with role play, scripted dialogue and everything. But I like the Discord. I like that idea better.
Man, because, it reminds me of Zoom. Like I could be sitting there. I was sitting on Discord the other day and somebody's like, hey, Adam, scared the crap out of me. I thought jump because I was like in the room and had it open and they're like, what's up? You in here? It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like in my bed, scared me working. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And it's like, didn't warn me or nothing. And I'm like, I probably should not just sit in these rooms. It's like, it's cool. Like people can just come in and it's like Zoom, that you're going to a meeting. I got to send you a link. I got to do something to collaborate. And I had guys wanting to meet me and I've worked a couple nights this last week playing catch up for being off. My mom was in the hospital and I would have got off one Zoom and went to the next one with them. They came into the room because it wasn't that confidential. They joined the conversation. Then they started to collaborate and cross-pollinate value. And I left the room or left the conversation and left them together. And they're both like thankful. That wouldn't have happened on a Zoom. So anyways, you kind of already know about it. Other people don't. I'm pretty excited about it as I build some rooms. So hopefully I can tie in one of your guys that wouldn't mind letting us listen, or I'll send the link to them. We went way over today, Amanda. Way over. Did we? No, because there's like this was like a 3-part one, for sure. You being able to get your stuff out. And then the second piece of your guys' story and the personal side to it. And I'm always interested in that and how that's working for, my people in my network, but they make it look like it's magical, right?
I love that. Yeah, no, not always magical, but it works.
Right. And then being able to, touch on some of these other things. Emotional intelligence kind of sounds cheesy, guys. It does, because when I first started getting into it, and it was like, how do you track it, engage it? That was some of my questions back then, because there was no book. And I'm going to go get this book and I'm going to read it. It's something that I definitely have been brought to me by coaches and other people, but they probably were learning this stuff behind closed doors or practicing it and bringing it, and so I think I've seen the 2.0 book. Who's the author of it though? It's like
this is Travis Bradberry is the main author.
2 years ago it came out or something. I thought I seen it a couple years ago.
There's a different version now. This one's a little bit older, but there's a couple different versions, knockoffs. You know what I'm saying? Authors. Yeah.
So that one 4 years old then? Yeah, because I remember
probably at least.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Well, I think I've been coaching on this actually since 2014.
So inside Discord, we can put our results up, and I'm gonna knock it out. It's something I've been interested in, but I didn't know how to track the metrics, and I did it, other ways. And it's like, I know when it's time to take time off. I know when it's time to push, and I didn't before, guys. And so some of you guys might be burnt out. You might be fearful of the market. Might have a bunch of negative victim-like mentality people around you that you need to cut out. Here's the best thing Amanda said: stop and go spend some time with yourself and catch your breath and come back and regroup, because you can't draw anything beautiful with a dull pencil. And when you're off, you're going to get, you'll be able to, sharpen your pencil so you can
Yeah.
write a better story. Amanda, thank you. And you guys, you and Ronnie got a great story. More importantly, you guys got great results for other people and the leadership and what you guys have built over there. And so Jeff is lucky to be able to sponsor you guys, and we're lucky to have you in Top Agent Experts. Unless you got any other final words, or how can people find you on social, or let them know what's up?
Yeah,
Tag
yeah.
us
You
out.
can Instagram, I'm on social, Amanda_Hurd. Here is my info here. QR code takes you to a strategy call if you ever do want to dig in a little deeper. But yeah, this is an amazing group, Adam. I appreciate you. You're so appreciated. And I know we've kind of been connected over the years, and I just love even getting closer and that we're in the same group with Jeff and Marcy. So yeah, let's do this.
Yep. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good afternoon. Hit Amanda up. Get that book, guys. Just do it.
Yes. Take emotional intelligence seriously. It will change your world. 12-week year. Try it too. Connect with me for more questions. Thanks, Adam.
Yep. Bye, guys.